Grandma.
I call my grandmother Gia.
I call her Suki.
Grandma. Yeah, grandma.
Grandma.
Nana. I think she thinks that like Granny is like kind of cute. Like I think that's her like Jenny from the block like upgrade on grandma.
So only my sister and I call my grandmother Gia.
It was like a Suki now, you know, so she's Suki to everybody.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart.
I haven't really heard her talk much about her life and her experience.
She instilled like mannerisms and being very poised and always putting your best foot forward.
Because my grandmother is really sure about who she is. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grandmother Project presents Pearls and Pocketbooks, our monthly webinar experience featuring Black grandmothers and granddaughters discussing love, life, and everything in between. I'm Melanie Brazil, and I am the creator of the Grandmother Project, an original 9-episode docuseries, which you just watched the trailer for, now available on YouTube. Be sure to visit our page and click subscribe. The link is in the chat. Last month, we took you across the world to Australia as we chatted with a very special mother-daughter pair, keeping it close over 9,000 miles apart. Tonight, we are celebrating the intergenerational bonds that make up Black Greek letter sororities. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated have all been pillars of strength, forces for social change, and vehicles for service in the Black community and abroad. This evening, we're chatting with members of each of these prestigious organizations as they reflect on sisterhood, service, and generational bonds. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Pearls and Pocketbooks, Episode 5, Sisterhood. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our first guest. Our first guest, Eldridge McClaney, grew up in Pigeon Creek, Alabama. A retired teacher with over 20 years of teaching in both Buffalo and Rochester school systems. She is a professional storyteller and Toastmaster. In 2006, she released her autobiography entitled I Go Back, detailing her Southern upbringing. Her book describes her family's farming lifestyle, rich cultural traditions, and the details about the sacrifices her family made in the face of Jim Crow South. She has been a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for 21 years. She is a mother of 3 children, a grandmother of 6, and a great-grandmother of 5. It is my honor to introduce you to Mrs. Eldridge Grandma McClaney. Grandma McClaney, welcome.
Thank you so much, and I thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you so much for being here. It is truly a pleasure. I can't wait to chat with you later.
Thank you. Good to be on here.
Yes, yes. And our next guest, who is actually, there we go. Our next guest was born and raised in Rochester, New York. For the past 9 years, she has worked for General Motors Rochester operations as a production supervisor. There, she co-chairs the Women in Manufacturing Committee. In 2018, she was featured in Rochester's Democrat and Chronicle newspaper as a Woman to Watch honoree. In an exclusive interview with the paper, she paid tribute to her mother, father, and grandmother as being 3 of her greatest influences. Not only is she a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated like her grandmother, but the 2 are Toastmasters as well. Some of her other interests include reading, shopping, hiking, and spending time with friends and family. She has been a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Nu Omega chapter in Rochester for 2 years. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Shaniece McClaney. Shaniece, welcome.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Yes, Shaniece, it is such a pleasure. I cannot wait
to chat with both of you. It is so awesome to have a grandmother and granddaughter pair on the show. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, my pleasure. Well, without further ado, we're going to introduce you all to our next guest. This next guest, Cheryl J. Rutherford, was born and raised in Chicago. She is the widow of the late George Townsend Rutherford, the mother of 2 sons and a grandmother of 4. She began her teaching career in Chicago at Lindblom Technical High School, where over the course of 31 years, she assumed the positions of mathematics instructor, lead counselor, assistant principal, and principal. Inducted into the Alpha Alpha chapter, she has been a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated for 55 years. She later became active in Zeta Tau Zeta chapter, where she has held numerous titles, including chaplain, second vice president, chair of the scholarship committee, and several others. She is a legend of Zeta Tau Zeta Metropolitan Chicago chapter and a national Zeta Dove. In 2008, she was awarded Zeta of the Year. And in that same year, she introduced the Diamond Doves, a recognition that celebrates the charter members of the chapter and awards scholarship. She is a parishioner of St. Catherine Drexel Catholic Church, formerly St. Albie in Chicago, where she is a member of the Inspirational Adult Choir, Sisters in Spirit Praise Dance, and Greeks for Christ Ministries. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Mrs. Cheryl Grandmother Rutherford. Mrs. Rutherford, thank you so much for being on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. It is such a pleasure to be with you again. And I say hello to all the fellow panelists and hello to our guests.
Yes, and let's have you turn on your camera, Mrs. Rutherford, so we can see. That's okay.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
Yes.
It's me.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure having you, and I can't wait to chat with you later on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest, Latisha Sanders, is a Chicago native who has been an active member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Tau Zeta Metropolitan Graduate Chapter since 2005. She attended Howard University, where she received many accolades, including the MLK Junior Educational Grant and Who's Who of American College Students. She has nearly 20 years in the public sector and local government agencies, serving as an office manager to the controller with the finance department of Chicago Public Schools. She is currently working in Cook County government, where she is the executive assistant to the comptroller for Cook County. Since joining Zeta, she has served in many capacities within her chapter, including fundraising chair, second vice president, marketing and publicity co-chair, and many more capacities, too numerous to name. In 2019, she was awarded Zeta of the Year, a distinction she shares with her Zeta mom, Mrs. Cheryl Rutherford. Outside of the organization, she has held volunteer positions with the Chicago Urban League, Big Brother, Big Sister Chicago, and is a member of Trinity United Church of Christ. In her downtime, she is an avid self-taught cook, gardener, and pre-pandemic, a world traveler. She enjoys spending time with family and friends, especially her blue and white family. It is an honor to introduce you all to Latisha Sanders. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and welcome and good evening, everyone.
I am so excited. We just have such an impressive panel. All right. Thank you, Latisha. Our next guest, Deborah M. Douglas, is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. As a member, she has held many distinctions, including second vice president, first vice president, and president of the Chicago Alumni Chapter, which boasts a membership of over 700 women. Professionally, Deborah spent 30 plus years in the private sector with AT&T and Hewlett-Packard, where she retired from the position of Information Systems Technology Project Manager. A woman of many titles, she has an MBA in Business Administration, is a certified project manager, licensed loan originator, and works as a certified substitute educator in Bremen Township, District 228. Additional civic and cultural organizations include member and facilitator of Apostolic Church of God, Chums Incorporated, Links Incorporated, National Associations of Female Executives, and the International Women's Leadership Association. A native of Chicago, she has one daughter, Chimille, who is currently the chapter president of the Chicago Alumni Chapter, and two granddaughters, Kennedy and Camille, who is a third-generation legacy. Both granddaughters attended HBCUs. She is affectionately known as G to her granddaughters, which is short for G Mommy. It is my honor to introduce you to Mrs. Deborah M. Douglas. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome, fellow participants, daughters and granddaughters, and everyone who is here with us. And Melanie, thank you so very, very much for and not only the introduction, but also for having me here. But I'm sorry, I have to do one correction. Chimille happens to be the president of the Chicago Metropolitan Alumni Chapter, not Chicago Alumni Chapter. So I wanted to make that correction, but welcome everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction. The Chicago Metropolitan Alumni Chapter. We do want to make sure that we get that correct, and thank you. It is such an honor to have you on the show, and welcome to everyone that is watching. Thank you so much. All right, our next guest, Bonita Marie Herring, embraced the importance of service in her early years and has worked to serve the community on many levels. In July 2012, she was elected as 23rd National President of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. She ended her second term as president and chairman of the board in August of 2016. Her work has included serving on the board of the Southeast Chamber of Commerce, National Pan-Hellenic Council, Chicago State Chapter of Toastmasters, and completing a term as chairman of the MPHC Council of Presidents of Greek Lettered Organizations. Herring has received many honors, including Chicago Defenders Women of Excellence in 2014, Dred Scott Freedom Award in 2015, the Excel Educational Leadership Award in 2016 from Rainbow Push, and many Sigma Gamma Rho recognitions, including Blanche Edwards, the highest award a member can receive in 2016. She currently works at Chicago State University in the College of Education, where she is the director of field placement and community outreach. Prior to her work there, she was a high school teacher. Bonita Herring is a member of St. Albie Church in Chicago and is married to Chester Herring. They are the parents of Chevonne Herring and grandparents of one, Eliza. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Mrs. Bonita Herring. Welcome.
Good evening, Melanie. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this illustrious panel. Good evening to you and to all who are here this evening. I do want to make one correction. I still call it St. Albie, but it is St. Catherine Drexel. I am a proud member of St. Catherine Drexel.
Yes, yes. St. Catherine.
Thank you. It's great to be here this evening. I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much. I am really looking forward to it. And that is right. It is now St. Catherine Drexel, but formerly known to many of us in Chicago as St. Albie.
St. Albie's, yes.
Yes, yes, thank you. All right. Well, we are going to continue on with our amazing panel. Our next guest, Chevonne Herring Alston, joined the Alpha Epsilon chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho sorority at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University on November 24th, 2000. While a student, she served as a secretary for her local chapter and treasurer for the university's Pan-Hellenic Council. After 1 year of membership, she was elected as the Southeastern Region Youth Services Coordinator. Herring was a recipient of scholarships from Sigma Gamma Rho's National Education Fund as an undergrad. Chevonne graduated magna cum laude with an MBA BS focus in accounting in 2004. She joined Beta Delta Sigma Alumni Chapter in Tallahassee, Florida, and worked at the Florida A&M University's Controller's Office for a year. Herring returned to Chicago in 2005 to work in public accounting and joined Delta Sigma Alumni Chapter. She served as the chapter's secretary. In 2012, Chevonne began her doctoral studies at the University of Mississippi. She was elated to receive the sorority's Bertha Black Rhoda Fellowship during the 2013 Boule. In 2015, she married William Alston. Chevonne is currently working as an accounting professor at Governor State University. William and Chevonne welcomed their daughter Liza in 2019. Chevonne Herring received her PhD in accounting degree in May 2020. Chevonne is currently an active member of Delta Sigma chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And she participates with the organization's scholarship and civic committees. It is my extreme honor to introduce you to Dr. Chevonne Herring Alston. Chevonne, welcome.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's my esteemed pleasure to be here. And happy Sunday to my fellow panelists and all the other participants.
Thank you. I can't wait to get into this discussion. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone. This is our panel, everyone. Thank you so much. If you're out there, please give this panel a round of applause. This is definitely just such an amazing group of women. So we'll have everyone turn their cameras on so that we can begin this amazing discussion. This is really, truly an amazing group. So my first question, we'll get started right away. My first question is for Grandma McClaney.
Yes.
You have written an autobiography entitled I Go Back about your upbringing in Alabama. And I wanted to know, when did you first become aware of Black sororities and what inspired you to join an organization in service?
I am not certain when I became aware of it. I probably knew for years, but I was invited to join back in, I want to say in the 70s. And of course, I couldn't afford it. I had 3 children that I had to take care of. So I didn't join back in the 70s. So again, I had another invitation to join probably in the late 90s. And I did. In 2000, I joined. So that was your question about
Yes.
when I first became aware of it?
Yes, yes. And what do you think has, as someone who had already had this amazing career, what have you been able to, what has been the impact of the lifelong bonds that you have made with members of your organization? How has it enhanced your life to make these relationships?
Well, it varies. Number one, we have a large variety of sisterhood in the chapter. And you can always call on somebody when you want or need something. That's important. It's important to know that somebody there cares enough to be able to do something when you need them.
Yes, yes, that is so incredibly important. Now, I'm going to forward this next question to Shaniece. Shaniece, you have mentioned in previous interviews how your parents and your grandmother have positively influenced you in your journey.
Yes.
What has been the greatest part about sharing this bond and the title of soror with your grandmother?
I think the best part for me is just being able to work with my grandmother and just really watch how she moves. I mean, from a young girl, I've always studied my grandmother. She's just been a phenomenal person. And I just truly admire her, and just to be able to sit back and work with her, it's just an amazing thing. So, I mean, I still feel like she's the teacher, I'm the student, and I'm just taking in all of the knowledge and wisdom. And I mean, we love it.
I think that is so incredibly beautiful. Thank you. That is beautiful. We've got a picture, actually. We've got a slide of the two of you at an event. Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Do you remember when you took this picture? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So I think, trying to remember where that picture was. I think it may have been our Pink Ice event. And this was I'm 2 years in. This was my first event attending. So I was just ecstatic. I was super excited. Of course, I wanted to take a boatload of photos with my grandmother and throw our pinkies up and all the symbols that we do. But I believe this was our Pink Ice. And it was just, again, a beautiful event, just to be surrounded by some powerful, amazing, knowledgeable women. It was just overall, it's a beautiful feeling. It's an overjoying feeling.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. I have one more question for you, Shaniece, and I'm going to eventually ask this to all of our panelists, but you sort of touched on this, but what do you admire most about the older sorors in your organization?
Ooh, what do I admire the most? It's so much to admire to just say just one. If anything, it's the drive. I really do admire the drive of some of our seasoned sorors in there. The work, the motivation, you know, just again, just really that drive to just keep going, you know. I truly admire that. And again, just the knowledge that they bring. I mean, like I said, I'm still learning. So I just sit back and I love to sit around my elders and just soak it all in, you know. They've lived life before us and they just have a lot of great jewels to pass down. So I'm in the learning mode from my seasoned sorors.
That's right. That's right. That's amazing. And we all are. And that's really what this project is all about, is honoring these women and honoring our elders in this exchange. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So, you know, speaking about these intergenerational relationships, that is one thing that is incredibly special about Black Greek letter organizations, is that they are intergenerational. And so one thing that I think is special are these relationships that form between generations, like that of Mrs. Rutherford and Latisha. So I like to ask you, Mrs. Rutherford, when you first met Latisha, who is your Zeta daughter, what was your first impression of her?
When I first saw Latisha, I just knew that there was something very special about her, and that I could see all that energy. I could see that commitment that she had as she was showing interest in our organization. I saw in her a future leader, truly a future leader, and that I saw a young woman who was friendly and who was willing to share her time with us and with the organization in different activities that we had, even though she was not a member just yet. She was striving to be one. I just saw someone that I could really feel close to, and that who would listen to me and let me listen to her. And that's very important to me, because I feel that even as much as I might think or others might tell me that I have to offer as far as experience is concerned, I always feel that the younger people can always show me something and teach me something. We just have to listen to them and watch them.
That's powerful. And so now, Latisha, I have to ask you, you know, you found a mentor in Mrs. Rutherford. And can you tell us about how that relationship started and why it's special to you?
Hopefully I won't cry. But basically, it started almost 16 years ago when I became a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated through Zeta Tau Zeta Chapter. I had been a Zeta of all of an hour and a half, and I went to a meeting, and Mrs. Rutherford was the second vice president, and she was giving an update regarding an event, and she kept calling it the affair, and I had no idea what was going on. But it comes to be a national program of ours called our Final Womanhood Scholarship Luncheon. And I really didn't know, I pretty much didn't have an outer desire to start volunteering or doing anything just yet, but for some reason, it was just her poise. And it was just the power in her voice that told me that maybe, you know, maybe I'll help her out. I'll type a paper, or, you know, I'll help her type something up. I think she needed somebody to help her format something in Microsoft, and I knew how to do that. And that's pretty much how it started. I just became a sponge, and I learned so much from her, and I still do. And it came to the point where I succeeded her as second vice president after her term was over. So I personally, I don't think that was anything but divine intervention.
That's powerful. And we've got a wonderful picture of the two of you that we like to show.
Okay. Oh.
Yes. Can you tell us about this event?
I can. Our chapter, Zeta Tau Zeta chapter in Chicago, just turned 55 years old. And our chapter is the oldest chapter in the state of Illinois. And this was the 55th anniversary celebration, post-pandemic, obviously, but it was only just a few of us there, and we were able to get together, just a few of us, and also our charter members who were able to attend, as well as our doves, which would be Mrs. Rutherford would be one of our doves. She does not look like she has been a member since 1966, does she?
Yes, Mrs. Rutherford, that's a perfect segue because you hold the title of Zeta Dove in your organization. And I wanted to know, how do you feel that your organization has supported you through the various seasons of life, from, the time that you first joined to now? What has it meant to you?
I'm very sorry, but what happened is something went awry here and I had to get on my telephone here. I don't know what happened to my computer, but I missed a little bit. I think your question was, is that how has the sorority, my chapter and sorority, am I correct? How have they supported me?
How has it supported you through the various seasons of life?
I think that my sorority and definitely my chapter have looked upon me as still as a contributing factor to the organization. Some find it very difficult to believe that I have been in the organization for 55 years. I think they're just being kind sometimes, but because I look in the mirror, look in the mirror all the time. But I think that when there are new initiatives or something that I have thought about and that I have indicated that, well, I think that this will work, such as the Legend Doves in our chapter, whereby we do honor the 50-year people who've had 50 plus years of membership in the sorority. I think that through my asking and through the confidence that has been given me, especially by my chapter president, Sylvia Davis, the fact that she has trusted me to do certain things. I look at when we established the scholarship for the charter members, the first one in the name of the Diamond Doves. And I think that the president at that time was Melody Bird. And she looked at me and she said, okay, it's okay, I trust you. I think that I've been supported and permitted to assume positions in the at the state level as well as at the regional level. And mind you, some of these things have not occurred during the pandemic, when most of the time we were in a time of need. I felt that our services were still needed, and I could still do some things to help out. And I have just really enjoyed the positions at all three levels. And I have been supported. People listen to you, whether you are old or young. If you have something positive to say, and you keep that positive attitude, and the attitude is that I will accept the fact that you have differences and I will respect them. I will listen to you, and those things that I can that can enhance what I want to do for you, those things I will ask, would you help me with those things?
Yes. And that's powerful. And that's how we grow. That's how you learn, and that's how you grow. We've got a wonderful picture of you, Mrs. Rutherford, as well, that we like to show here. Can you tell us about this? You are looking sharp in this photo. Can you tell us about this event?
That was a hat show that we had done. It was a project that we were working on during our Final Womanhood program. And one of our sorors on her committee had said, let's do, we're going to do an arts and craft. We're also going to do, we want to have hats, and we want to do earrings. And so I like hats. There's one soror in our chapter who really does have me peaked with that. So a bird's home. But I really and truly do like hats. I'm in another organization and we wear hats. And that is one of the hats that I thought maybe if I could put that hat on and sport it and really look like the finer woman that that our sorority purports, that we be finer women. So I figured that would make me really look elegant. And I just, I took a good picture that day.
We love it. We love it. So we have a number of members here. Thank you, Mrs. Rutherford. I mean, all of you are dropping so many gems. We have a number of members in this panel that have been chapter presidents, and one that has even been a national president, Mrs. Bonita Herring. Mrs. Herring, today is actually your anniversary of when you became a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I am proud to say I have been an active member of my sisterhood for 51 years today. So I am very proud of that. And I love the journey that I've had in the sisterhood.
Wow, congratulations. And we celebrate that with you today. And we've got a picture from around that time, I believe, that we want to show. Goodness. It's a throwback.
Oh, yes.
So can you tell us about this photo?
Actually, that's a picture from one of the conferences. It was a conference in Los Angeles. It might have been my first boule. We have our national conferences, our boules, and that was my first national conference. So again, I came in June 27th, 1970, and this was probably in about 72 or 73, can't remember specifically, but like I said, I've had an amazing journey. I think I've seen a lot of sides of our sisterhood. I've had the opportunity to serve as chapter president as an undergraduate. I worked for the sorority as the executive director for 23 years. I was president of our graduate chapter. And so, I've seen the organization and national president, vice president, national vice president, and president. So I've had the opportunity to see the business side of the sorority and the sisterhood side. I mean, all of it's sisterhood, but I really saw another side of the sorority in working for the sorority. So yes, I've had an amazing journey. And during the time of that journey, I have met amazing women who have been there for me. So I just appreciate the memories. Actually, I posted something on Facebook today that had a lot of other older photos on my Facebook page, but it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, so if looking at that woman that was in that photo, what would you say to her? What would you say to yourself back then about what you had to look forward to in your organization?
Oh my goodness. She did not know all of the things that she was going to experience in Sigma Gamma Rho, because it has been entwined in my life in a number of the journeys that I've had. Again, I worked for the sorority for 23 years, so that was my job. Anytime I served in an office, it's a family thing. You don't just serve in an office. I had to go to my husband and my daughter and say, I'm going to run for this office. So I remember when I wanted to run for national vice president, actually I came to both of them and I said, the conference was in Detroit. Of course, I started campaigning long before that, but it's a family thing. You go to your family and you say, okay, not only my chapter supported me, but my family had to support me because they were going to be missing me during those times. And there were things that I would not be able to do. So I'm very thankful to my daughter who sometimes I'm sure had to do more than she needed to because her mommy was off doing things with the sorority, travel and so on. But I appreciate all the support from her and her aunts that helped, her Sigma aunts. Many of them I think are on this call today.
Yes, it takes a village. It really does take a village. And we've got Chevonne here today. Chevonne, thank you for joining us. And I wanted to ask you, Chevonne, you know, what are your earliest memories of your mom being in a sorority?
It was just life. Like Sigma Gamma Rho has been ingrained like since birth. So like she said, she mentioned my Sigma aunts. So I'm an only child, but I have a ton of sisters and way more aunties than the two biological sisters that my mom has and the two that my dad have, because I literally call them auntie. And I would say it was strange because you're used to being young and calling these these are my seasoned sorors, and like my mom, her line, their culture pearls, and these are seasoned sorors. So when I became a member, it's soror, the member's last name, but it's still auntie. So, just drawing that line.
Between family, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And so, did you, being a member yourself, were there times when your mom was, national president, had this amazing title?
Mhm.
Did you feel any added pressure at that time as a member? Did you feel like you had big shoes to fill, so to speak?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I felt that I had large shoes to fill. I would say overall, just being my mom's daughter and the various roles that she's played throughout my life, with her serving as executive director and, chapter basilisk and things of that nature. I feel like the way that I was raised, it was, just as women, we all have a village that ingrains us to carry ourselves in a certain manner. And even though I went to school far away, I always wanted my mother, my Sigma aunts, my village to be proud of how I carried myself. So I knew that, I had to just always just, keep it together and continue to carry myself well, but I didn't necessarily feel like that was anything that was distant from how I lived my life. So I didn't really look at it as a burden. It was just my village put so much in me. So I just always wanted to move forward and carry myself in a manner that made them proud. And I love what many of my fellow panelists have said about being lifelong learners and just learning from seasoned sorors and just learning from the generations that came before them. And so, as I mentioned, Sigma Gamma Rho has been ingrained in me since birth. And so I've been able to see these women over the years and just look at so many examples. So I'm just so grateful for that.
Yes, yes.
Melanie, if I might just say one other thing, I so agree with what Cheryl Rutherford said about listening to the younger people, also younger sorors, because I will tell you, I have learned so much from the younger sorors. I'm seasoned. I take that. But I'm not going to just sit back and be quiet. But I think that the younger sorors have so much to add, and they've taught me so much, even technology. Yes. So that's
yes. Well, before we introduce our next guest, I want to show these wonderful pictures that I have of both of you together that I think are very precious. And you mentioned something to me, Mrs. Herring, about the one on the left, about how you all have each other's backs. And can you talk about that as it pertains to also being sorors, how you have, each other's backs?
Sure. First of all, both of these photos were taken at St. Catherine Drexel, but it was with St. Albie's then.
St. Albie's at
Had
the
a
time.
Right, had a photo shoot there for families. But yeah, I definitely feel that we have each other's back. And I think there are many in the sisterhood that we have each other's back. But this visually kind of shows how we lean on each other, how we hold each other up, and how, you know, we've got to have each other's back to make it through, especially with things like the pandemic. I mean, I'll just say that there were a lot of people that had my back and made me feel good during times that I didn't really feel okay. So
Yeah,
it was
for sure. This time definitely taught us how we need to lean on our village. And so we've got another, speaking of mothers and daughters and having each other's back, Miss Debbie. I have permission to call you Debbie.
Yes, you do. You can call me Debbie, please.
Yes. Speaking of mothers and daughters, you have a line of 3 generations of Deltas.
Correct.
Both your daughter and your granddaughter are members of your organization, which I think is incredible. And so my first question that I wanted to ask, I wasn't sure, do you come from an even longer line of Deltas?
Well, actually, I do not. I was the very first one. And that happened in April of 1973. And then after me came Chimille, and she came in 1996. She became a Delta in 1996. And then our newest member is my granddaughter, and that is Camille. And she actually became in 2016.
Wow, that is amazing. And I think we have a picture of your daughter, of you and your daughter. Let's see if we can get that up.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's Chimille and me, Chimille and G. She calls me mom. The other 2 granddaughters call me G. And that's the 2 of us as we have been matriculating through life.
That's beautiful. It's so beautiful that you get to share this added connection with your, granddaughter and your daughter. So was it important to you, being a member yourself, was it important to you that your daughter and granddaughter followed in your footsteps?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest, and this might be a little bit different for most, but I tend to feel that we are all different in nature. We can have a multitude of people who grew up under the same roof, the same rules, and all go in different directions. And so even I'm a substitute teacher right now too. And even so, a lot of my high school students, well, some of them will ask me, about sororities and that type of thing. I tell this to family members, to everyone. You have to do what is best for you. And so what is best for you may not be what is best for me. And what I mean by that is, within all of our organizations, and especially now with the younger group, you guys have it relatively easy to go and look up an organization and see what they're all about. Is it a fit for you in the life that you are traveling? Now, fortunately for me, the 3 of us are all together in this, but it really could have been different. And that would even have been okay, because we're not all a fit in everything. Even on your campuses, as an example, the campus, I tell students as well, your organization, your sorority might be one way here on campus, but always realize it is a much larger organization and can be a little bit different once you have graduated and you're moving on to be in that national organization. So in answer to the question, I'm very grateful that they are both with the same sorority as I am, but they actually could have gone in different directions. I believe that we have to do what is best for us as individuals.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And so you talked about this younger generation. And so now we're going to open this up to everyone. This is mainly for the grandmothers of this next question. What inspires you all about the younger generation of members in your organization?
I can tell you what inspires me is a sense of forward movement. And many of my fraternal sisters here have already spoken to that. Nothing remains stagnant, nothing at all. And forward movement brings about change. I mean, just look at this past 18 months or so that we've gone through with the pandemic. We all had to pivot behind that. So those of us in the past, we've seen things, we've lived through a lot of trying times, but what our youth do, and praise God for this, is they joined forces with us. It is important for us to listen to them. We talk about technology. They are familiar with technology. In order for us to catapult for a change for the better, we have to work here together. We have to listen and listen to each other. They look to us as things as we were moving forward. They look to us for guidance, for mentorship, but there is so much that we happen to learn. And so we each have to listen to each other. But this younger generation, those who are on point are simply powerful. They're just awesome. They can run when we walk. Think about it. They can keep us informed of the digital divide. In the technical environment in which we now live, we're the paper, but they're the electronics. We're the strollers, if you think about it, but they're the steppers. We introduce thoughts and ideas, but they implement them. And just pulling all of that together truly makes a difference. And, you know, Shaniece, I see you've been nodding your head, sweetheart. I appreciate that. I really do. I learned so much from the youth that we are involved with in this day and this life. And I cannot thank you all enough for that.
And I thank you for your words of wisdom with that, because that was just amazing. And I'm like, I lean in on my seasoned sorors. I love to get all the information for them. But you are absolutely right. We turn around and we implement, you know, we work together, right?
Yeah.
Together, and we develop this vision. And then from there, we break it apart to figure out, now, how do we get to this vision?
Absolutely.
So yes, I definitely agree with you.
And I agree with you, everything you said as well. The younger generation are the ones with the technological skills. And I even though when I was teaching, I worked in an environment where there was computers.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I worked in it and learned a little bit about it, this younger generation can just zoom past us. Were it not for the younger generation during this pandemic, I don't know if we would have made it. Because they had to keep teaching, and my daughter's a teacher. They had to keep teaching. Students have to use those computers, everything. So I think we wouldn't do so well if we didn't have our younger generation on board.
Not at all.
I think that our younger generation, excuse me, has so much energy. And I'm sorry. You're getting feedback. I'm sorry. I've got, and that is because I had lost out on some power before. I think our younger generation, especially, and I've seen it in our chapter, where there's so much energy, and with that energy, they have shown me, and I'm sure shown others, that things can get done. I see a cooperation among the younger generation there in our chapter, and as I've been listening to the other my other sisters on this panel, I think that we have all shared the same opinion that our young people have helped to bring us into another era, and that era is that we must use technology. We must use the new means that we have of communicating with one another. I think, just think of during this pandemic, if we did not have the technology, we would not be able to communicate with one another. We would not be able to still do our community service, even though even though the masks had to be worn, there had to be social distancing. I can actually say that nothing stopped in our chapter. In fact, I'm just so glad that we just have probably a few days to rest before the new year starts in, because the ideas that are there and the things that the younger generation wants to share with the older generation. I want to tell you that I'm never considered an older person in the sorority. I know they think, or in the chapter, I know that they think that, but there's always the willingness to include me and to actually say, I will come and get you. And I've had sorors to come and get me And now I can drive. I'm not an invalid. I can do all that. But it's just the respect that is held for me. And it says that so long as you want to be involved, we're going to make sure that you are involved in the things.
Yes, yes.
And if you cannot, if there's something that you want to, in which you want to participate, and that I just had a Sora pick up something for souls and bags for children with DCFS from me. And I could not get all the way out to the drop-off station. And Sora Stevenson came, met me where I had to go, which was close to my house, and said, I will take this for you. I just appreciate that. And it's the respect that is given. And as I said, the younger sorors permit me to be involved in everything. Trust me, we laugh. They don't look at me as an old fuddy-duddy, and I'm glad because the brain is still working. You know, the body may not be doing as much as it did before, but the brain is still working.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that, Mrs. Rutherford.
Melanie, may I interject really quick? I'm sorry.
Yes, please. We're gonna have. Why don't we have Mrs. Herring weigh in on that, and then we will definitely get in there, Latisha.
Thank you. Just one quick thing on that. Something I've had to learn as a seasoned soror, and I had to learn it. I had to train myself. When younger sorors or members don't agree with things, or when they do things, when they take a left or do something completely different, sometimes I used to say, why can't they just follow this plan? We've been doing it like this all these years. Why can't they just, and then I find out they do it so much better. So that's something that I've had to, it took a while. And I know I saw my bachelors on this call and some members from my chapter, but they do it so much better. And I'm so appreciative that they didn't take the same path, that they do go in those directions and say, we can't do it like this any longer. Just like what you're doing, Melanie, you're taking us to a level with this project. And I so appreciate what you're doing, legacies that you're saving and talking about. So thank you for doing it. And we have to listen more. Yes.
Thank you. Latisha, did you want to jump in there?
Mine was just plain and simple, but I took in, like, I wish I could have transcribed it somehow, everything Mrs. Herring said, and the McClaney family, Miss Douglas and Miss Rutherford. Even though you say us as the younger generation are very apt and very knowledgeable with technology, you are knowledgeable with tradition. And without those seasoned sorors, I wouldn't know what I know in Zeta and what I'm still trying to know, because I go back to Soror Rutherford has notes. So her notes are valid to this day. And they, what she has shared with me is still the same all these years later and will go beyond. And, regardless of our colors, our shields, and what is written as our principles, we all serve the same in terms of being sisterly, in terms of serving our community, and also in terms of ensuring scholarship for young women and other young people to come up. And, whether they decide to choose this life or not, that is not of us to say.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Latisha, about sisterhood. That leads me to my next question, which is, we've got representatives from all of the Black Greek letter sorority organizations on this panel. And I think it's really powerful how much all of these organizations have in common. And so my question to all of you is, how do you support each other as organizations, as different organizations?
I can be first to say this, and that is that there is the National Panhellenic Council, and through there we support initiatives that have to do with the communities around the nation, and we work with one another. in order to be able to accomplish what must be accomplished. I think that, and sometimes it's a healthy it's a competition between the groups to see who can raise the most money or who can do the most community service. And I look at that competition as so healthy, because the receiver of our efforts will receive much more, because we did that. We competed, and we competed with love among one another.
Right.
I would like to say something about Latisha, and that is that over the years I have watched her, and I've watched the camaraderie that she has developed with the other groups of sororities and fraternities, our Black brothers and sisters. And I think that that is something just so wonderful, because it causes us, no matter what age we are, it causes us to come out of our shells and to be able to realize that our Black sororities and fraternities, we are givers, and we are no longer considered the takers that this society had given us as that title many years ago. We are givers, and we are not the takers. If we take anything, we take it so that we can give it to someone else.
Thank you.
Melanie, if I could just add just something to, there are a number of projects that I think the sororities and fraternities work together on. I mean, there have been things like voter registration, there have been some major things, especially with what's going on in our country. And we know things that have gone on in our country that are major things that sororities and fraternities have to come together on, because we live in this country, so there are things that need to be done. So I think we've come together on some major projects. I don't know all of them, and I can't name them all, but I know voter registration was a major one, and everybody participated in some way. And so we supported each other, and we supported our country.
Yes, thank you.
And not just that, whereas we do things internally, as we do them when we collaborate, but externally we partner with each other. And just like Bonita said, voter registration was a great one. We even do that drive together when the training takes place. And just like Cheryl said, we support each other, and we are givers. And so we give so that we're able to help the community. And it's a giving spirit. The Lord tells you to give, because when you give, you're also able to receive. And receiving does not have to be in terms of monetary things if you're receiving, but just know that you've done the goodness to share with someone else and take care of someone else and help them. And that's what we all do collectively.
Yes. So these are amazing answers. And Chevonne, I wanted to reach out to you about, as a younger member, about how the organization has supported you in your professional endeavors, because we do talk about service, but there also is a component of support in terms professionally. So can you speak to that, about how you've been supported in that way?
Absolutely. So I will just say that, again, I spoke earlier about the village, and I'm so grateful that whatever I've taken on, I can see examples around me of women that have taken those challenges on. And so one thing that I can say that I love about being a member of Sigma Gamma Rho is that wherever I go, I can call someone. Like if I happen to be in a new city, I can connect with someone. And sometimes those women have been really instrumental in allowing me to become settled and just feel comfortable in a new environment. And I can even say now, you mentioned that I defended my dissertation last year, but decades, ago, when I was in undergrad at Florida A&M University, Florida State University was, right across the road. My roommate was a grad student at Florida State University. She was one of my sorors, and she was getting her PhD in analytical chemistry. So at the time, me working on a bachelor's degree, I'm like, whoa, what's that? But I see this young woman getting a PhD in analytical chemistry. And then I met another sorority member that was very quiet. And when I started my doctoral program, I definitely understand why. I knew her, but I didn't connect with her. Like I connected with her, but she was working on her PhD in accounting at Florida State University. So this was a soror that when I enrolled in a doctoral program, you know, I looked at different programs and she knew me and she said, Chevonne, I think this might be a good fit for you. And I met a professor there, and you know, when I defended, when I was close and I ran into issues, I called her. When I had struggles, you know, and it was just somebody that wasn't right down the street, but I could always pick up the phone and speak to her about what storm I might be going through in that program. And so last year, when I, you know, finished my degree, she was definitely cheering like, oh, my little sister, you know, got her PhD. So it's just that connection, that village. And I'll even say, you know, we're all speaking and we've talked about MPAC and we definitely collaborate on different projects. But my mother knows that one of my closest friends in my doctoral studies was in AKA. So, and I have another one that's a Delta, and we actually, you know, in academia, you have to research. So we're collaborating on a project. So it's not just I'm in this silo with Sigma Gamma Rho. Like I love that we are a phenomenal group of educated women, and we definitely reach back to support one another and, you know, be better.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I think we're all blessed, and so we know that to whom much is given, much is required. So I know my fellow panelists just try to do my best to reach back and help someone else along the way, the same way that I have been.
Thank you. Thank you all for being a part of this discussion. We want to get to a couple of questions from our audience that I think are really great. There are two that we will get out there. One is from a Miss Claire who wants to know, who says that I think it's powerful that Black sorority members tend to commit to their organizations for a lifetime. What do you think separates Black Greek letter organizations from other Greek organizations in this regard? Is there anyone that wants to hop in on that?
I'll start that. I think basically the structure, the organizational structure of other organizations, our organizations are like family. We join and we are there until, for Sigma Gamma Rho, when you die, it's Omega Rho and you're inducted into the chapter of the departed. But it's like it's family. With other organizations, it is a college thing. And that in many cases is how it's looked at. You do that, you live in the house on the college campus, and that's what it is. It is not the lifelong commitment.
Thank you.
I think that I agree definitely with Bonita. The Black colleges were, the Black sororities and fraternities were instituted for the purpose of service and scholarship. And there was also something else, there's just a certain amount of respect that is ingrained in the principles by which we govern ourselves. We take these things very seriously, and we watch each other. We have each other's back, so to speak. We are not allowed to be disrespectful. We can differ, but to be disrespectful and to see some of the things that we see on television with the other sororities and fraternities, That's not what we stand for.
Yes.
We are international. We go beyond the college level. In fact, we go all the way the other way. We take our youngsters when they are little, when they're young, and we mold them in the right way to go.
Yes.
And this is what we do. So we start from the cradle all the way up to when you get to be even older than I am. And so that's the beauty of it. We have a structure. We are national, we're international, and we are service oriented. We really do that service. And it's just been mentioned here about the service.
Yeah.
Goes back to what our parents said that we were supposed to do. You've got to give back because a lot was given to you. And
That's right.
every generation has to do better than the previous one. We have to be givers. We cannot beat God giving now. And he knows when we give, and he blesses us continuously when we give.
Thank you. Thank you all. We are at our time. We want to get one more question out. We do want to get a couple of questions from the audience, but we do want to be mindful of your time out there. Thank you for everybody for sticking with us, because this is just such an amazing discussion. And we do want to make sure that we give it all of its glory as it rightfully deserves. And so we have a question from Loanne out there that wants to know, and I'll combine this question with Michelle's question. Do you think that sisterhood is as valued now as it once was? And how can these organizations continue to keep the younger generation interested in joining?
I actually think that sisterhood is as great as it was. You've got different generations that you see sitting here. I mean, every time I see Shaniece nod her head, it just warms my heart, because it makes, I know, and even having two granddaughters, that when you have the love of your descendants, people in your family, your friends' friends. I mean, I look at Latisha, she's got aunts and uncles, especially Chevonne. Chevonne, I have an only child too. And when you have all these aunts and everything around you, and that you talk about them with a smile, and you're still in there ready to do things. And I'll be honest, even if it's not of a Greek letter organization, in terms of we African-American Black women, we have a lot of love for people, period. And so even the little kids coming up, they're always making signs and they're doing things. You look at some of this TikTok and everything else, they strive to be a part of that. And that shows that love and that sisterhood is still here. And I believe that we will continue to do that as we move forward in our lifetime.
I agree with you. I also think that most young people are looking for something to belong to.
Yes.
And if they don't belong to something, they're going to get into some, I'm going to say, devilment. That's not necessary for them to get into and to mature into young, respectful adults. So we look at our younger generations when they are not even 12, 15 years old. They're looking for something to belong.
Exactly.
And if we can offer them something, even when they're young, it will certainly make a world of difference in some of the children's lives. I know with our sorority, we've had several programs where we had the younger generation involved in something. And it was just a different situation for them.
Yes.
They all enjoyed it. And they all are doing, I think, pretty well at the moment. So we want to offer them something to belong.
Yes.
I like that.
I agree with Shaniece and Deborah. Definitely, I think sisterhood is still something that's important. I think that people still want to connect with other women for that, the resources that you get from just working with other women, and just the sisterhood part of knowing that there's someone there that you can talk to when you've got a problem, when something is here or there, you always need somebody to talk to. So yes, I definitely think that sisterhood is still alive, and it's something that we as probably seasoned sorors probably need to just kind of promote it and be the tradition people, and just let our younger sorors and our younger women that want to become members know that we're here for you.
Yes.
And we can be pearls of wisdom for you.
Yes. And we can learn from you too.
Yes.
Oh yes, we definitely can do that.
Absolutely. Well, as we wrap, ladies, first of all, I want to thank you. As we close, I want quickly everyone to think about one word. If you had to summarize your organization in one word, which I know would probably be very challenging to do, what would it be? We want to end on a positive note. One word to describe each of your organizations.
Phenomenal.
Dynamic.
Astronomical.
Sensational.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
Thank you all so much. It has been a pleasure speaking with you today. I want to thank all of you out there for joining us for another episode of Pearls and Pocketbooks. Give our panelists a virtual round of applause. I want to thank everybody in the chat for all of the shout outs. Our information is at the beginning of that chat. We have got, if you have any questions that you want to leave for us, we will email those answers to you as we wrap. We want you to do two things right now before we end this webinar. The first thing is that we need you to follow our page on YouTube, to subscribe to the Grandmother Project page on YouTube. I'm putting the link in the chat right now. On the page, click subscribe. It helps us to bring these stories to a greater audience. And so it's really important. The second thing is to support the creation of more episodes and content. If you would like to contribute to the Grandmother Project, I am dropping a link to our website. There you will see a button that says donate. If you stay tuned after this, we have a special message that shows you how easy all of these things are. I want to thank each of you for being out there. To our panelists, I want to give you an opportunity to say bye to all of your fans that are out there right now. If there's anybody that has any closing remarks, I want to just say thank you and give you that opportunity.
I'll start. I just want to say, if this was, you know how you get involved with something initially and you're like, okay, what did that become a part of? I am so glad that I decided to sign on and be a panelist. So thank you so much, Melanie, for the opportunity to have this discussion, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you everybody for being here. I think we all learn as we talk more and we find out about the resources that are out there and how we can better connect to support one another.
And I want to say, Melanie, thank you for inviting me to come on this program. And thank you to my granddaughter for contacting me and getting me involved. It certainly is wonderful. And I think it's educational for our young people to understand and see this kind of a program, because it would mean a lot to a lot of young people to be able to participate in something like this.
Thank you.
So thank you for having that kind of insight.
Melanie.
Eldridge and Bonita, I echo everything that both of you have said. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, all of our panelists.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
You are just such a creative person, and appreciate you so much for bringing this to the forefront.
Yes.
The intergenerational concept is just something that I think you're handling it quite well, and you're giving us all ideas and giving us incentives to keep going and to love one another and to appreciate what we each have to offer to each other.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And special thanks to you, Mrs. Rutherford, for all of the things that you did to help put this together. I want to reach out to Cassandra B, Dominique B, Gina L Douglas, Felicia K, all of our supporters out there. Thank you. Thank you for all of you for participating, and stay tuned for a very special message. This has been Pearls and Pocketbooks, episode 5, Sisterhood. We will see you next month for another program. Thank you. Be well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Supporting the Grandmother Project is easy. Simply go to www.grandmotherprojectseries.com and click Donate. You'll be directed to our PayPal page, where you can enter an amount to help support the creation of new episodes and content. Be sure to like and subscribe to our page on YouTube and follow us on social media. See you next month on the next Pearls and Pocketbooks.